Hello, everybody. This is Teacher Chris. Welcome to NetClicks. Now, I know it's a very strange time with no school for such a long time. So, I've put together some videos that hopefully you'll enjoy and will make you feel a little less bored. In story time with Teacher Chris, I'm going to be reading this book to you, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. When I was in primary school, my grandmother used to read this book to me, and it was one of my favourite books, so I hope that you enjoy it too. Chapter 1. Down the Rabbit Hole. Alice was sitting next to her sister by the river. She was very bored. Her sister was reading a book, but the book had no pictures or talking in it.
What is the use of a book with no pictures or talking in it?
Alice thought. Suddenly, a white rabbit with pink eyes ran close by her. The rabbit said,
Oh dear, I will be too late.
Alice wasn't very surprised by the rabbit talking, but she was surprised by the rabbit taking a watch out of his pocket. He looked at it and then kept running. Alice got up and followed the rabbit. She had never seen a rabbit with a pocket or a watch to take out of it. Alice saw the rabbit go down a big hole under a hedge. Without thinking how she might get out of the hole, Alice went in. She crawled for a little bit, but suddenly the hole went straight down. Alice started to fall. She fell for a long time. Down, down, down.
I wonder how far I've fallen,
she said.
I must be getting near the centre of the earth. I wonder if I will fall through the earth and come out in Australia,
she said. She fell for a long time. It was so long that she fell asleep. She was woken up when she fell into some sticks and dry leaves. She was not hurt and jumped to her feet. She could see a long tunnel in front of her. She could still see the white rabbit.
I'm going to be very late,
the rabbit said. The rabbit turned a corner, and when Alice got there, she couldn't see the rabbit anymore. She was in a long room. There were doors all around the room. Alice tried to open all of the doors, but they were all locked. She came to a little table made of glass. On top of the table was a very small golden key. She tried the key on all of the doors, but it was too small. When Alice went around the doors a second time, she found a small door behind a curtain. She tried the little key in the door, and it worked. She looked through the door, and it opened into the nicest garden Alice had ever seen. She really wanted to go into the garden, but she couldn't even get her head through the door.
Even if I could get my head through, it wouldn't be much use without my shoulders,
said Alice. Alice went back to the table, hoping to find another key on it. She found a little bottle on the table. There was a piece of paper tied to the bottle with the words "Drink me" on it.
No, I'll look first,
Alice said. She looked at the bottle. It didn't look dangerous. She tasted it. It tasted like a mix of cherries, pineapple, turkey, and toast. She drank all of the bottle.
What a strange feeling,
said Alice.
I think I'm getting shorter.
Alice was happy when she realized that she was now small enough to get through the door to the garden. When Alice got to the door, she realized that she had forgotten to bring the key. She went back to the table, but she was too small to get the key. Alice started to cry, but then she saw a small box under the table. She opened it. Inside there was a very small cake, which had the words "Eat me" on it.
I'll eat it. If it makes me bigger, I can get the key. Or if it makes me smaller, I can go under the door,
said Alice. Alice ate a little bit and waited to see what would happen. When nothing happened, she ate the whole cake. And that's the end of chapter 1. What do you think will happen to Alice now that she's eaten the whole cake? Keep watching to find out. Chapter 2. The Pool of Tears.
Stranger and stranger,
cried Alice.
Now I'm getting taller. Goodbye, feet.
Alice was growing very fast. She looked down, and it was hard to see her feet anymore.
Oh, my poor little feet. I wonder who will put on your shoes and socks for you now,
thought Alice. Alice had grown so tall that her head hit the roof of the room. She picked up the little golden key and went to the garden door. Her foot was bigger than the door. She could definitely not get through it now. Alice sat down and began to cry. She cried and cried until there was a big pool around her. Alice heard someone coming. It was the White Rabbit. He was carrying a fan and some gloves. The rabbit was saying to himself,
Oh, the Duchess! The Duchess! She'll be so angry if I've kept her waiting.
Alice was very sad and didn't know what she could do, so she decided to ask the rabbit for help.
Excuse me, sir,
Alice said in a quiet voice. The rabbit was very surprised. He dropped his fan and gloves and ran away as fast as he could.
I wish someone would come down the rabbit hole to help me,
cried Alice. She picked up the fan and gloves and started to fan herself. Alice looked down and saw that she had put one of the rabbit's gloves on. She was getting smaller. She thought it might be the fan that was making her small. She dropped it just in time to stop her getting too small.
Whew, that was close. I was almost too small to be here at all,
said Alice. She ran to the door, but it was closed again, and the key was back on the glass table. Alice slipped and fell. She was up to her head in salt water.
Oh no! I'm in the sea!
Alice thought. Then she realized that it wasn't the sea, it was the pool of tears that she was in. Just then, she heard something splashing in the water. She swam over to see what it was. At first, she thought it was a hippo or a walrus, but then she remembered how small she was. It was a mouse that had slipped into the water just like her.
I wonder if that mouse can talk. Things are so strange down here. Maybe it can.
Alice thought.
Excuse me, Mr. Mouse.
Alice called out. She had never talked to a mouse before, but she thought it was important to be polite. The mouse looked at Alice.
Mr. Mouse, please, can you help me out of this pool?
Asked Alice.
Yes, I will help you,
Said the mouse.
This pool is getting very full.
Alice looked around. The mouse was right. The pool was getting full of birds and other animals who had fallen into it. Alice and the mouse helped all of the animals out of the water. And that's the end of this week's story time with Teacher Chris. I hope you enjoyed it, and you can watch next week to find out what will happen next to Alice. Bye bye!